The envelope was waiting when Keisha got home from her double shift at Watershed. She almost didn't see it in the dim hallway light of her Atlanta apartment building. Black cardstock barely visible against the worn carpet outside her door. But the silver ink caught her eye, her name written in calligraphy so precise it looked like it had been etched rather than penned. Before we dive into Keisha's story, welcome to AfroK Heartstrings Besties. If you love slow burn romance with danger, mystery, and emotional depth, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit that like button because this story is about to get intense. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. Now back to that mysterious envelope. Keisha bent down to pick it up, her muscles aching from 12 hours on her feet in the kitchen. Her fingers found the paper smooth and heavy, the kind of quality she'd only encountered when catering events for Atlanta's old money elite. No return address, no postmark, no stamp. Someone had delivered this by hand. Her stomach tightened as she unlocked her door and stepped into her studio apartment. The space was tiny, basically a kitchen, a bed, and a bathroom you could barely turn around in. But it was hers, paid for with her own money from her own work. No handouts, no shortcuts. She dropped her bag on the second-hand IKEA table and stared at the envelope under the single overhead light. The wax seal on the back was deep red, pressed with a symbol she didn't recognize. Something that looked old, important, the kind of thing that came with history and consequences. Keisha's phone buzzed. Stephanie, girl, where have you been? You've been ghosting me for 2 weeks. Everything okay? She typed back quickly. Just working a lot. I'm fine. Promise. Another lie. She'd been avoiding Stephanie because she didn't want to answer questions about the insomnia, the loss of appetite, the way she'd been obsessively going through her father's things, looking for... What? She didn't even know anymore. David Williams had died 18 months ago. Heart attack, the coroner said. Natural causes. He was 52, healthy, no warning signs, just gone. Keisha had been at culinary school in Charleston when she got the call. By the time she made it back to Atlanta, her mother had already had him cremated. I can't bear to see him like that, her mother had said through tears. Please don't ask me to. So Keisha hadn't. She'd let grief make the decisions, let her mother handle everything, let the funeral pass in a blur of condolences and casseroles, and her culinary school classmates squeezing her hands and whispering about how sorry they were. She'd gone back to school, finished her degree, got the job at Watershed, tried to move on. But some things didn't move on. They just waited. Like the safe deposit box key she'd found 3 months ago while cleaning out her father's desk. A key that didn't match any bank she could find, or the wire transfers in his bank statements, 50,000 here, 75,000 there, all to accounts with numbers instead of names. Or the phone contacts labelled with initials instead of full names, pieces that didn't fit the man she knew. David Williams, accountant, quiet, honest. A man who did the Sunday crossword in pen and taught his daughter to cook jollof rice the way his Nigerian mother had taught him. Keisha turned the envelope over again. Whatever was inside, she had a feeling it was going to be another piece. Another thing that didn't fit. She slid her finger under the seal. It broke with a sound like a whisper. Inside was a single sheet of cream-coloured paper. The same elegant handwriting. Miss Williams, your father, David Williams, worked for my family for 10 years. In that time, we trusted him with our most valuable assets. 3 months before his death, $12 million disappeared from accounts under his management. We believed your father stole it. We were wrong. I have evidence that proves your father's innocence. I also have evidence that he was murdered to prevent him from exposing the real thief. I believe my father was killed by the same person for the same reason. If you wish to learn what really happened to David Williams, come to Polaris Restaurant tonight at 8 p.m. Ask for Mr. Kang. Come alone. Bring nothing but questions. This invitation will not be extended twice. KSJ Keisha read it 3 times. $12 million. Murdered. Evidence. The words didn't connect to her father, couldn't connect to him. David Williams had been an accountant for an investment firm. He'd worn khakis and button-downs and driven a 10-year-old Honda. He'd packed her lunch every day through high school, even though she'd begged him to let her buy cafeteria food like everyone else. He'd taught her to make his mother's pepper soup and told terrible dad jokes and cried when she got into culinary school. Not a thief, not someone involved with people who casually mentioned $12 million, but there were those wire transfers and that key. And the way her mother's voice had changed that one time Keisha asked if Dad had seemed stressed before he died. "We don't talk about that," her mother had said, sharp and sudden. "Your father is gone. Let him rest." Keisha looked at the clock on her microwave. 6:47 p.m. She had just over an hour to decide if she was walking into whatever this was. She picked up her phone and called her mother before she could talk herself out of it. "Baby girl!" Her mother's voice was warm, sleepy. She worked nights as a nurse, so early evening was her morning. "What's wrong? You never call at this time." "Mum, I need to ask you something about Dad." The pause was too long, too heavy. "What about him, Keisha? Did he ever mention working for anyone named Kang, or any Korean families?" The silence that followed made Keisha's hands go cold. "Mum? Where did you hear that name?" Her mother's voice had transformed completely. Tight. Afraid. The nurse voice she used when something was very, very wrong. "I got a letter." "No." Sharp and immediate. "No, Keisha. Whatever that letter says, whatever they're offering you, the answer is no. You throw it away right now. You hear me?" "Mum, what?" "You stay away from those people." Her mother's voice cracked. "You stay far away from them." Keisha's heart was pounding now. "You know them." "I know enough. Your father." Her mother stopped, started again. "Baby, your father got involved with things he shouldn't have, people he shouldn't have. He tried to get out, tried to protect us from it, and then he died. You hearing me? He died, and you don't go stirring up what should stay buried." "He was murdered, wasn't he?" Silence. "Mum, was Dad murdered?" "I don't know," whispered. Broken. "I suspected. The timing, the suddenness of it. But I couldn't prove anything, and I had you and your brother to think about. Marcus was still in high school. You were in culinary school. I couldn't risk you two. So I let it go. I let it be a heart attack. I let us grieve and move on. What if I can't move on? What if I need to know?" "Then you're choosing danger over safety. You're choosing strangers over family. And I'm telling you right now, as your mother, don't do this." They talked for another 10 minutes, her mother pleading, Keisha asking questions her mother refused to answer. When they finally hung up, Keisha sat in her tiny apartment and stared at nothing. Her father had been murdered. Someone out there knew why. Someone out there had proof. And they wanted to meet her at 8 p.m. She looked at the letter again. Come alone. Bring nothing but questions. This was insane. She should call the police. Or at the very least tell Stephanie where she was going. Leave a trail in case something went wrong. But her mother's fear had told her something important. The police weren't an option. Whatever world her father had been involved in, it was the kind where official channels didn't work, where people disappeared and it was called a heart attack, and everyone agreed to believe the lie. Keisha stood up and walked to her closet. She had one nice dress, black, simple. She'd bought it for her father's funeral and hadn't worn it since. It seemed appropriate for this, meeting a stranger who might know how her father really died. She showered quickly, the hot water not quite reaching the knot of anxiety in her stomach. Changed into the dress, put on the small gold earrings her grandmother had given her. Pulled her hair back into a neat bun. In the mirror, she looked older than 25. Tired, scared, but determined. She picked up her phone and typed out a text to Stephanie. If you don't hear from me by midnight, I was at Polaris restaurant meeting someone about Dad. Tell the police. She deleted it without sending. If she was going to do this, she was doing it the way the letter said. Alone. Keisha grabbed her small purse, double-checked that her phone was charged, and left her apartment at 7:30 p.m. Polaris Restaurant occupied the top floor of one of Buckhead's glass towers, the kind of building where money whispered instead of shouted. Keisha had catered an event here once during culinary school, spent the whole night in the service elevator and the kitchen, never seeing the actual dining room. Now she stood outside the building at 7:55 p.m., feeling massively underdressed despite the funeral dress. A doorman opened the entrance without asking if she needed help, like he'd been expecting her. Inside, the lobby was all marble and modern art, an elevator with mirrors for walls. Keisha pressed the button for the top floor and watched herself ride up, counting her breaths to stay calm. The elevator doors opened directly into the restaurant, soft lighting. Classical music played so quietly it was almost subliminal. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing Atlanta's skyline glittering in the early evening. Tables spaced far apart, each one occupied by people who looked like they measured their net worth in millions. A host appeared immediately. Young, impeccably dressed. His eyes swept over Keisha with the kind of quick assessment that calculated her worth and found it wanting. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" "I'm here to see Mr. Kang." The host's expression changed immediately. Not friendlier, more careful. Like she'd just said a password that meant something. Of course. "Right this way, Ms. Williams." He'd known her name. She hadn't given it. Keisha followed him past all the tables, past the main dining room entirely, to a hallway she hadn't even noticed. Private rooms. He stopped at a door with no marking and opened it without knocking. "Ms. Williams," he announced, then disappeared. Keisha stepped inside. The room was intimate. One table set for two. The same floor-to-ceiling windows, but these showed the city from a corner angle, a view that probably cost extra. Candles on the table, wine already poured, and a man. He stood when she entered, and Keisha's first thought was that he looked like money. Not new money trying to prove something. Old money that didn't need to prove anything. He was tall. She guessed 6'3", maybe taller. Korean, late 20s or early 30s. Dark suit that fit him like it had been made for his body specifically. Black hair styled with that kind of effortless perfection that took either serious money or serious time. Strong jawline, high cheekbones, and his eyes. Ice blue. Keisha had never seen a Korean person with blue eyes before. "Ms. Williams." His voice was deep, accented. English was clearly his second language, but he spoke it with the kind of precision that suggested expensive education. "Thank you for coming. I'm Kang Seo-jun." He didn't offer his hand. Keisha didn't offer hers. They stood there, separated by the table, assessing each other. He was younger than she'd expected, and there was something in his face, grief maybe, or exhaustion. The same bone-deep weariness she saw in her own mirror. "You said you knew what happened to my father," Keisha said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Please, sit." He gestured to one of the chairs. "I'd rather stand." Something that might have been approval flickered across his face. "As you wish. Though this conversation will take time and the food here is excellent, it would be a shame to waste it. I didn't come here for dinner. No, you came for answers." He sat down himself. A smooth, controlled movement that made Keisha think of martial arts or dance. "But I find that difficult conversations are easier over a meal. It's civilized. Please." Keisha hesitated, then sat. The chair was more comfortable than it had any right to be. Seo-jun poured water from a crystal pitcher into both their glasses. "Your father worked for my family for 10 years. He managed our accounts, investments, holdings, financial structures. My father trusted him completely." "What kind of business is your family in?" Keisha asked, though she had a feeling she already knew. "The kind that requires discretion and loyalty above all else." Those ice blue eyes never left hers. The kind where trust is currency and betrayal has consequences. "You're in the Mafia." "We prefer to call it a family business. That's what the Mafia always calls it." His mouth twitched. "Almost a smile. Almost. Your father understood what we were. He chose to work with us anyway. For 10 years, he was more than an employee. He was family. We protected him. He protected our interests. It was mutually beneficial. Until $12 million disappeared. Yes. And you thought my father stole it. For 18 months, yes. I was certain David Williams was a thief who had betrayed my family's trust and run with our money. I spent those months investigating, hunting, building a case, trying to understand how a man my father loved like a brother could destroy us. Keisha's hands clenched in her lap under the table. And I was wrong. The words hung in the air between them. A waiter appeared, silent and efficient, placing plates in front of them. Some kind of fish dish that looked like art. Seo-jun waited until the waiter left before continuing. 3 months ago, I found evidence that your father didn't steal anything. That he discovered someone else was stealing and tried to expose them. That he was murdered 3 days before he could present his findings to my father. Seo-jun's voice remained perfectly level, but something dark moved behind those strange blue eyes. 3 months later, my father was also murdered, made to look like retaliation from a rival organization. But I believe it was the same person, covering their tracks. The room felt too small suddenly, too warm. You're saying someone in your organization killed both our fathers, Keisha said. Yes. Who? I don't know yet. Your father encrypted his findings, used passwords and security measures I haven't been able to break. Seo-jun pulled a tablet from inside his jacket, set it carefully on the table between them. But I believe you can. What makes you think that? Because I've been investigating your father's methodology for 3 months. Every password he used had a pattern. Family references, important dates, names, inside jokes, memories, things only someone who knew him intimately would know. Seo-jun's gaze was intense, unwavering. Things only his daughter would know. Keisha looked at the tablet, at this stranger who'd brought her here with promises of answers, at the food she hadn't touched, at the life she'd been living, working double shifts, paying off debt, visiting her father's grave every month with questions she couldn't answer. What's in this for me? She asked. The truth, justice. That's not enough. Seo-jun leaned back slightly. What do you want? Keisha thought about it. About the student loans that would take her another 5 years to pay off. About her mother's medical bills from last year's health scare. About the restaurant dream she'd put on hold indefinitely because she couldn't afford to take the risk. Money, she said. If I help you find who killed my father, I want to be paid for my time. $50,000. Seo-jun didn't even blink. Done. The answer came too quick, too easy. She'd asked for too little. And I want to know everything, Keisha continued, her confidence building. No secrets, no holding back information. If we're doing this, we're partners, equal partners. You're not my partner, you're a consultant. Then consult with someone else. Keisha stood, pushing her chair back. I'm not interested in being your tool, Mr. Kang. I'm not interested in being kept in the dark while you use me to get what you want. Either we work together as equals, or I walk out right now and you can figure out those passwords yourself. Seo-jun studied her for a long moment. His expression was unreadable, but something had shifted in his posture. He was reassessing her. Sit down, Ms. Williams. Give me your word. No secrets. Everything you know, I know. You're asking me to trust a stranger. You're asking me to help you investigate my father's murder. I think trust goes both ways. The silence stretched. Outside the windows, Atlanta glittered, oblivious to this conversation that might change everything. Then, incredibly, Seo-jun smiled. It was small, brief, but genuine. It transformed his face completely, made him look younger and somehow more dangerous at the same time. You have your father's courage, he said. He was the only person who ever talked back to mine. Sit. Please. Let's discuss terms as equals. Keisha sat. Seo-jun pushed the tablet toward her. I'll show you what I have. All of it. The evidence of your father's innocence, the encrypted files, the timeline of events, everything. And in exchange, you help me access the passwords. Fair? Fair. He tapped the tablet, pulling up files. Your father started noticing irregularities in the accounts about 8 months before his death. Small discrepancies at first, a few thousand here and there, easy to miss if you weren't looking carefully. But David was always careful. He used to check my math homework 3 times, Keisha said softly. Said details mattered. They do, especially in my world. Seo-jun pulled up a spreadsheet. The amounts got larger, more frequent. By the time your father had been tracking it for 6 months, he'd identified $12 million that had been systematically moved through shell companies, rerouted through offshore accounts, and disappeared. Keisha leaned forward, studying the numbers. Even with her limited financial knowledge, she could see the pattern. Someone had been stealing, methodically, professionally. Your father documented everything, Seo-jun continued, created backup files, encrypted them with multiple layers of security. He was preparing to present his findings to my father. He set up a meeting for... He pulled up another file. March 15th, 3 days before that meeting, your father died. Heart attack, Keisha whispered. That's what the coroner said. But I had someone look at the report. There was no autopsy. Your father was cremated within 48 hours. The speed of it, the certainty of the diagnosis without proper investigation, it raised questions. My mother insisted on the cremation. She said she couldn't bear an open casket. Or someone convinced her it was the right choice, made it easy, took care of the arrangements. Seo-jun's voice was gentle but firm. Ms. Williams, Keisha. May I call you Keisha? She nodded. Keisha, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you understand what happened. Your father discovered something dangerous. He tried to do the right thing, to expose it through proper channels within our organization. And he was killed before he could. And your father? Seo-jun's jaw tightened. 3 months later, shot outside our family estate. They made it look like retaliation from a rival organization. We'd had tensions with them, unpaid debts they claimed we owed. But I've since learned those debts were fabricated. We didn't owe them anything. The whole thing was staged to give a motive. How old were you? Keisha asked. When your father died? 23. The same age as her when her father died. Something passed between them in that moment. Recognition. 2 people who'd lost their fathers too young. 2 people drowning in questions and grief and the need for answers. I didn't know about any of this, Keisha said quietly. About the work he did for you. About the danger. I was in culinary school. My father told me he managed accounts for an investment firm. Normal stuff. Boring stuff. He came to visit me at school every month, brought groceries because he knew I was broke, asked about my classes. He never... Her voice cracked. He never seemed like someone who'd be involved with people like me? Seo-jun finished. Yes. Your father was good at compartmentalizing, at keeping his work and his family separate. It was one of the things my father valued about him, his ability to be in our world without letting it consume him. Seo-jun picked up his wine glass, studied it without drinking. He talked about you constantly. His brilliant daughter, the one who was going to be a chef, who was going to open the best restaurant in Atlanta someday. You were his pride, his hope, the proof that all his work, all his compromises meant something. Keisha felt tears building but refused to let them fall. And now he's gone, and I'm sitting in a restaurant with a stranger who says he was murdered. I know this is hard. You don't know anything about me. I know more than you think. Seo-jun set down his wine glass. I know you work at Watershed as a sous chef. I know you work doubles 3 times a week to make rent and pay down your student loans. I know you visit your father's grave on the 3rd Sunday of every month with sunflowers because they were his favorite. I know you send money to your mother even when you can barely afford to feed yourself. I know you haven't been sleeping well since you found that safe deposit box key 3 months ago. Keisha went very still. You've been watching me. For 6 months, Since I first started suspecting your father might be innocent, I needed to know who you were, if you could be trusted, if you knew anything about his work. That's... She didn't know if she was more angry or frightened. That's invasive. That's stalking. Yes. No apology. Just acknowledgement. It's also how I knew you were safe to approach, that you're not involved with anyone who might use this information against me, that you're exactly who you appear to be, an honest person trying to live an honest life despite circumstances that haven't been fair to you. Keisha stood up. I need some air. Seo-jun gestured to a door she hadn't noticed. Balcony, take your time. She walked outside before she did something stupid like cry in front of him. The balcony was small, just big enough for two people to stand comfortably. The night air was cool, carrying the sounds of the city below. Keisha gripped the railing and tried to process everything. Her father had been murdered. Someone in a criminal organization had killed him, and a man who'd been stalking her for 6 months wanted her help finding the killer. This was insane. Behind her, she heard the balcony door open. Seo-jun stepped out, keeping a careful distance. I should have approached this differently, he said, being more sensitive to what you're learning. But I'm not. I don't know how to do this gently. Do what? Ask for help. Trust someone. He moved to stand at the railing, not close, but close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. In my world, showing vulnerability gets you killed. Asking for help is weakness. Trusting the wrong person ends in betrayal. I've spent the last 2 years learning to trust no one. But you're trusting me? No, I'm taking a calculated risk with you. There's a difference. Keisha looked at him. Really looked. Past the expensive suit and the strange eyes and the controlled demeanor. She saw someone tired. Someone grieving. Someone who'd spent 2 years alone trying to solve his father's murder while running a criminal empire. What happens if we find who did this? She asked. If we access these files and identify the killer, what then? I present the evidence to the people who matter in my organization. Elder Song and the advisors. They investigate. They render judgment. What kind of judgment? The kind that ends with consequences. Seo-jun's voice was careful. I won't lie to you, Keisha. In my world, betrayal of this magnitude, murder of a family leader, the punishment is severe. Death? Traditionally, yes. But I'm trying to change some things. Make them less... He paused. Less brutal. The person who killed our fathers won't go free, but I'm going to push for life imprisonment instead of execution. A new kind of justice. Keisha turned that over in her mind. Why? Because my father wanted me to have a real education for a reason. He sent me to Oxford, had me study international law, made me understand different systems of justice. He wanted me to bring change to our family, make us better, less violent, more sustainable. Seo-jun's hands gripped the railing. He died before I could ask him how to balance honor with evolution. So I'm trying to figure it out myself. They stood in silence for a moment. If I help you, Keisha said slowly, I need more than $75,000. Name your price. I don't want more money. I want... She turned to face him. I want answers beyond just who killed my father. I want to understand why. What did they gain? What were they afraid of? I want the whole story, and I want... She took a breath. I want to be there when you present the evidence, when judgment is rendered. I want to see it through to the end. That's dangerous. You'd be exposing yourself to people who might... I don't care. If I'm doing this, I'm all the way in. Those are my terms. Seo-jun studied her face for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. Deal. Full partnership. No secrets. You see this through to the end. Keisha shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and the contact sent an unexpected jolt through her. She pulled back quickly. When do we start? She asked. Tomorrow. I'll send a car to your address at 9 a.m. We'll work from my estate outside the city. More private, more secure. Bring whatever you need to be comfortable for long days. How long will this take? Weeks, maybe months. Depends on how quickly we can break through the encryption. He pulled a business card from his jacket. My private number, if you have questions, if you change your mind, if anything feels wrong. Keisha took the card. Simple, elegant, just his name and a phone number. One more thing, she said. Your eyes, the blue. Is that colored contacts? Seo-jun said. My father had business dealings with a European organization. They requested I look more palatable to their sensibilities. The contacts were his compromise. I wear them now out of habit. And because they're unsettling, Keisha finished. Exactly. Useful in my line of work. They are unsettling. Good. They stood there on the balcony, two people who'd just agreed to investigate their father's murders together, and Keisha realized she'd crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Whatever happened next, her life would never be the same. I should go, she said. I'll have my driver take you home. I can take the martyr. Keisha, his voice was firm. You're working with me now. That makes you a target for anyone who doesn't want the truth to come out. You don't take public transportation anymore. You don't walk alone at night. You let me provide security until this is over. That's non-negotiable. If you're all the way in, you're all the way in my protection. Understood? She wanted to argue, but looking at his face, at the absolute certainty there, she knew arguing would be pointless. Fine. They went back inside. The food on the table was cold now, untouched. Seo-jun made a phone call in Korean. Quick. Efficient. A minute later, a text came to Keisha's phone. Your car is waiting in the lobby. The driver's name is Min-jun. He knows where you live. You're safe with him. How did you get my number? She asked. Seo-jun's expression might have been amused. I know everything, remember? Sleep well, Keisha Williams. Tomorrow your real education begins. The ride home was silent. The driver, Min-jun, was massive, Korean, with a scar across his jaw and hands that looked like they could crush concrete. He didn't speak, just drove. Keisha sat in the back of the black SUV and watched Atlanta pass by her window. Her phone buzzed. Stephanie, you alive? Starting to worry. Keisha typed back, alive. Long story. Tell you later. Another message came in. Unknown number. Thank you for trusting me. I know it wasn't easy. See you tomorrow at 9. Keisha stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed, don't make me regret it. His response was immediate. I'll do my best. She smiled despite herself. When she got home, she stood in her tiny apartment and looked around at her simple life. The second-hand furniture, the kitchen she loved, the photos of her father on the walls. Tomorrow morning, a car would pick her up and take her into a world she didn't understand. To work with a man she shouldn't trust. To investigate a murder that might get her killed, she should be terrified. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in 18 months. Purpose. Keisha changed into pajamas, brushed her teeth and climbed into bed. But sleep didn't come. She lay there thinking about ice blue eyes and encrypted files and the way Seo-jun had said her father's name, with respect and grief and something that sounded like guilt. Around 2 a.m., her phone buzzed again. Still awake? S. She shouldn't respond. It was unprofessional. Strange. She typed anyway. Can't sleep. Too much to process. Same. For what it's worth, your father would be proud of you. For seeking truth. For being brave. How do you know? Because he told me what kind of person you were. And you're exactly who he described. Keisha's throat tightened. Thank you for telling me that. Good night, Keisha. Rest if you can. Tomorrow will be difficult. Good night. She set down her phone and closed her eyes. And for the first time in 18 months, Keisha Williams fell asleep without crying. The black SUV arrived at exactly 9 a.m. Keisha was waiting outside her building with a backpack containing a change of clothes, her laptop, phone charger, and a knot of anxiety in her stomach she couldn't quite shake. Min-jun stepped out, gave her a single nod, and opened the back door without a word. The drive took 40 minutes, leaving Atlanta's sprawl behind for rolling countryside she didn't recognize. They turned through iron gates that probably cost more than her annual salary, following a winding driveway lined with cherry trees. The estate appeared like something from a magazine. Modern architecture blended seamlessly with traditional Korean elements. Clean lines softened by curved roof lines, walls of glass beside walls of stone, gardens meticulously maintained, a koi pond that reflected the morning sky, and security. Cameras mounted discreetly, men in dark suits stationed at intervals. The message was clear: beautiful, but fortified. Min-jun parked in front of the main entrance. A woman appeared before Keisha even got out of the car, 50s, stern expression, hair pulled back in a perfect bun. "Ms. Williams, I'm Mrs. Park. I manage Mr. Kang's household." Her English was crisp, efficient. "Please follow me." The interior took Keisha's breath away. Soaring ceilings, art that probably belonged in museums, floors so polished she could see her reflection. Everything was a study in controlled elegance, expensive but not ostentatious, powerful but not threatening. "Mr. Kang is in his office," Mrs. Park said, leading her through hallways that felt more like gallery spaces. "He asked me to bring you directly." The office was on the second floor, facing east. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating a space that was part workspace, part library. Bookshelves lined one wall. She spotted titles in English, Korean, what looked like Mandarin. Multiple computer monitors on a massive desk, comfortable seating area with a low table, and Seo-jun. He stood when she entered, and the transformation from last night was striking. No tuxedo, just black slacks and a white button-down, sleeves rolled to his elbows, hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. The blue contacts were still in place, but somehow he looked more approachable in daylight. "Keisha, good morning." He gestured to a second desk positioned near the windows. "I had this set up for you. Multiple monitors, high-speed connection, anything you might need. If there's something missing, tell Mrs. Park." "This is..." Keisha looked at the setup. Professional-grade equipment, ergonomic chair, even a small plant. "You did all this overnight?" "I'm efficient when motivated." He moved to his own desk, picked up the tablet from last night. "Coffee? Tea? Mrs. Park can bring anything you'd like?" "Coffee. Black." He made a quick call in Korean, turned back to her. "It'll be here in a moment. Shall we start?" Keisha set down her backpack, settled into the chair he'd provided. The view from here was spectacular: gardens, the pond, trees stretching toward hills in the distance. "Your father's encryption system was sophisticated," Seo-jun said, pulling up files on the shared monitor between their desks. "Multiple layers. Some folders require passwords. Others require answers to security questions. Some have both." He pulled up the first encrypted folder, the same one from last night. "This one requires a password, at least 12 characters. Must include a number. The hint is where it all began." Keisha thought for a moment. Where what began? Her family? Her father's life? "Try 1847 Rosewood Lane," she said. Seo-jun typed it in. Access denied. "The address of our first house," Keisha explained, "where we lived when I was little, before Dad got the better job and we moved." Good instinct, wrong password. He tried a few variations, different capitalizations, spaces, numbers. Nothing worked. Mrs. Park arrived with coffee and what looked like fresh pastries. She set them down silently and left. "Maybe it's not about a physical place," Keisha said, sipping the coffee. It was perfect. Strong, hot, exactly what she needed. "Maybe it's metaphorical. Where did our family really begin?" "Tell me about your parents, how they met." "Hospital. Mum was a nurse. Dad was there visiting his mother who'd had surgery. He asked her out 3 times before she said yes." Keisha smiled at the memory. Mom used to say he was persistent. Try the hospital name. They tried every variation they could think of. Nothing. "What about where you were born?" Seo-jun suggested. Grady Memorial Hospital. Still nothing. They worked for 2 hours trying password after password, each failure adding to Keisha's frustration. Finally, she stood up, paced to the window. This is impossible. We could try passwords for months and never... Your father was methodical, Seo-jun said calmly. Everything he did had a pattern. We just need to find it. How do you know so much about his patterns? Because I studied him for 10 years. I watched him work, learned how he thought. Seo-jun stood, moved to stand near her at the window, close but not crowding. Your father used to say something to mine. A quote, "Do the best you can with what you have where you are." Teddy Roosevelt. He said that to me too, Keisha whispered, whenever things got hard. What if the password isn't about a place? What if it's about a moment? The moment that defined your family? Keisha turned that over, the moment that defined them. When her father decided to be more than what he was born to be, when he met her mother, when Keisha was born. Try we're going to be okay, she said suddenly. What? When I was 12, Mum got sick. Really sick. Medical bills piled up. I was scared. I asked Dad if we'd be okay. The memory was vivid. He said, "I promise you, baby girl, we're going to be okay. The Williams family takes care of each other. Always." It became our thing, our promise to each other. Seo-jun typed, "We're going to be okay." The folder unlocked. They both froze. "That's it," Seo-jun said quietly. "That's the pattern. Family promises. Moments that mattered." Inside the folder was a video file, dated 3 days before her father died. Seo-jun looked at her. "Do you want to watch this?" Keisha nodded, not trusting her voice. He clicked play. Her father's face filled the screen. He looked tired, scared, older than she remembered. "Keisha, if you're watching this, then I'm gone. And I'm so sorry, baby girl." His voice cracked. "I discovered something. Money being stolen from the people I work for. Dangerous people. I thought I could just report it quietly, let them handle it. But the person stealing, it's someone powerful. Someone close to the boss. If I tell him directly, I might not survive the conversation." He rubbed his face with both hands. "So, I'm gathering proof. Irrefutable evidence. I've set up a meeting in 3 days. I'm going to present everything I've found. And then I'm going to beg them to let me walk away. To let our family go. Because I'm done, Keisha. I'm done with this world." He leaned closer to the camera. "If something happens to me, if this goes wrong, I need you to know something. Everything I did, every choice I made, was to give you and your brother a better life than I had. I wanted you to never worry about money, to follow your dreams, to be free in ways I never was." Tears streaked down his face. "Don't come looking for answers. Don't trust the people I worked for. Just live your life. Be the chef you always wanted to be. Make food that brings joy. And remember, we're going to be okay. The Williams family always is. I love you, baby girl. Always." The video ended. Keisha was crying. She didn't remember when she'd started. Seo-jun stood frozen beside her, staring at the blank screen. "He knew," Keisha said through tears. "He knew they might kill him and he went anyway. He was trying to protect you, to get out before it touched you." Seo-jun's voice was rough. "He was brave and honorable, and it got him killed." If you're still watching, you're invested in this story. Show some love by hitting that like button if you haven't already. And drop a comment telling me, have you ever discovered something about a loved one after they were gone? Something that changed everything you thought you knew? Let's talk about it below. Who did this? Keisha turned to face him. Who was stealing? Who killed him? I don't know yet, but we're close. That video is dated March 12th. Your father died March 15th. The meeting he mentioned. It never happened. Whoever was stealing found out about it first. They spent the rest of the day unlocking more folders, each one revealing pieces of the truth. Bank records showing systematic theft over 5 years, shell companies, offshore accounts, millions of dollars disappearing into the shadows. And then, In a folder labeled Final Evidence, they found it. A name. Quick pause. If you're loving this story, you know what to do. Subscribe so you never miss our next upload. Like this video if the suspense is getting to you. And comment below. Who do you think the killer is? Let me know your theories. Now back to the shocking revelation. Kang Dae-jung. Seo-jun went completely still. No, he said. His voice was hollow. No, that's not. He wouldn't. But the evidence was there. Transaction after transaction. All authorized by the same person. Seo-jun's uncle. His father's brother. The man who'd helped raise him after his father died. He's family, Seo-jun said, his control cracking for the first time. Blood. My father's brother. He was there for me after Dad died. He stood abruptly, turned away. This can't be right. Keisha pulled up more files. The theft accelerated after your father started asking questions, and 3 days before my dad's meeting. She pointed at the screen. Your uncle authorized a payment. $50,000 to someone named Park Jin-ho. An enforcer, Seo-jun said quietly. Someone who handles problems. Someone who kills people? Yes. The silence was suffocating. Seo-jun's fist hit the desk. Not hard enough to break anything, just enough to show the rage barely contained. I trusted him. After my father died, I asked him for advice, listened to him, let him help me navigate this world, and he was the one. He killed my father, killed yours. Seo-jun. He looked me in the eye at my father's funeral and told me he'd help me find who did it. He helped me search, helped me investigate, all while knowing he was the one. His voice was shaking now. How do I come back from that? How do I trust anyone again after this? Keisha stood, moved toward him, stopped. They'd maintained such careful distance, professional, appropriate, but seeing him like this, seeing his pain mirror her own. We present the evidence, she said softly, to Elder Song and the advisors. We let them investigate. We get justice. Justice. He laughed bitterly. What does that even mean? It means he doesn't get away with it. It means our fathers didn't die for nothing. Seo-jun turned to face her. His eyes, those strange blue eyes, were bright with unshed tears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I brought you into this. Sorry you had to watch that video. Sorry that your father died protecting you from my world. Don't apologize for seeking truth. That's the only thing that matters now. They stood there, two people bound by grief and fury and the need for answers. We need to be careful from here, Seo-jun said finally. If Dae-jung suspects we know, he'll try to silence us. Yes. Then we move fast. We present everything to Elder Song before your uncle knows what's happening. Seo-jun nodded, pulled out his phone, made a call in rapid Korean. When he hung up, he said, Elder Song will meet us tomorrow. Private tribunal. Just him and 2 trusted advisors. We'll present everything. If the evidence holds, and it will, they'll render judgment. And then? And then it's over. For both of us. But looking at him, Keisha realized she didn't want it to be over. These past hours working beside him, seeing his pain, sharing hers, something had shifted between them. Something that had nothing to do with their fathers or justice or revenge. Something dangerous. Mrs. Park appeared at the door. Dinner is ready, Mr. Kang. Thank you. We'll eat here. She left, returned with trays of food. Korean dishes Keisha didn't recognize, but that smelled incredible. They ate in silence at first. Then Seo-jun said, Tell me something about your father. Something good. Before all this. Keisha thought for a moment. He used to dance in the kitchen. Mom would be cooking and he'd just start dancing. No music, just humming and spinning her around. Marcus and I thought it was the most embarrassing thing ever. Seo-jun almost smiled. My father played piano. Late at night when he couldn't sleep. Chopin mostly. I'd wake up to the music and just listen. Do you play? I used to. Haven't touched a piano since he died. Why not? Because it reminds me of what I lost. They finished eating. The sun was setting outside, painting the gardens in gold and amber. You should go home, Seo-jun said. Tomorrow will be difficult. You should rest. I don't want to go home. The words came out before she could stop them. Seo-jun looked at her carefully. Keisha. She fumbled for the right words. I don't want to go back to my apartment and sit alone with all this. The video, the evidence, what we know now. What did she need? I need not to be alone right now. Mrs. Park can prepare a guest room. That's not what I meant either. They looked at each other across the desk. The space between them felt charged with everything they weren't saying. This is a bad idea, Seo-jun said quietly. I know. You're grieving, processing. Your judgment is compromised. So is yours. Exactly. Which is why we should maintain boundaries. I'm tired of boundaries, Keisha stood. I'm tired of being careful and professional and pretending I don't feel what I'm feeling. What are you feeling? That I don't want to be alone, that I feel safe with you, which is insane considering you run a criminal organization. That when you look at me, I feel seen in a way I haven't felt since my father died. She took a breath. What are you feeling? Seo-jun was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, that I want to keep you safe, that I look forward to seeing you more than I should. That when you decoded that password, I felt pride like you were mine to be proud of. He stood too. That I'm falling for you and I shouldn't be because it's complicated and dangerous and completely inappropriate given the circumstances. The air between them felt electric. So, what do we do? Keisha whispered. Before I tell you what happens next, let me ask, are you Team Keisha and Seo-jun? Do you want them to be together despite everything? Comment below and let me know. And if you're rooting for this couple, smash that like button to show your support. The smart thing would be to keep our distance, finish this investigation, get justice, then part ways and never see each other again. And the not smart thing? Seo-jun crossed the space between them in 3 steps. His hand came up to cup her face, the first time he'd really touched her. The not smart thing would be this. He kissed her, softly at first, tentatively, like he was afraid she might pull away. Keisha kissed him back. Her hands found his shirt, pulled him closer. The kiss deepened, became something desperate and necessary, and months of tension finally breaking free. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Seo-jun rested his forehead against hers. This doesn't change anything, he said. I know. Tomorrow we still present the evidence. We still get justice. I know. And after that, you should probably go back to your life. This world, my world, it's not safe for you. I know that too. Keisha pulled back to look at him. But right now, tonight, can we just be 2 people who need each other? Not a criminal and a civilian. Not an investigation. Just us. Just us, he agreed. They spent the night in his office, talking, sharing stories about their fathers, about their dreams and fears and the futures they'd imagined before everything went wrong. Seo-jun played Chopin on his phone, recordings his father had made. Keisha showed him photos of her culinary school days. And sometime around midnight, curled up together on the couch, they fell asleep. The tribunal met in a traditional room on the estate's east wing. Elder Song and 2 advisors who'd served Seo-jun's father for decades. Private justice. Final. Keisha sat in a chair against the wall, there but separate from the formal proceedings. Seo-jun stood before the 3 men, his uncle beside him, Dae-jung still confident, still unaware of what was about to happen. You called this tribunal, Elder Song said to Seo-jun. State your purpose. I'm presenting evidence of theft, murder, betrayal. Seo-jun's voice was steady. Evidence that will require your judgment. For the next 2 hours, he laid it all out. Bank records, timeline, communications, David Williams' video testimony. Everything documented, verified, irrefutable. Elder Song's face grew harder with each revelation. The advisors whispered to each other in Korean. Dae-jung's confidence crumbled piece by piece. "These are fabrications," he finally said, but his voice shook. "Lies created by a lovesick boy and a vengeful girl." "The evidence is verified," Elder Song cut in. 3 independent forensic accountants confirmed it. "The bank records are real. Your authorizations are documented. You stole from this family. You murdered David Williams to hide your theft. You orchestrated your own brother's death to protect yourself." Dae-jung went pale. "In the old ways, you would die for this," Elder Song continued. "But Seo-jun has requested something different." He looked at Seo-jun, who stood. "Life imprisonment," Seo-jun said. "In a private facility. Comfortable but isolated. No contact with the outside world. No freedom. No power. You'll live with what you've done until natural death comes. Your name will be erased from all family records. Your assets returned to those you stole from. You'll exist, but you'll be forgotten." "That's worse than death," Dae-jung whispered. "I know," Seo-jun said. "That's the point. My father wanted me to bring change. This is how it starts." Elder Song nodded. "This is our judgment. Final and absolute." They took Dae-jung away. He didn't fight, didn't protest, just went quietly, already being erased. Elder Song approached Keisha. "David Williams' name is cleared. The family owes you a debt. What would you ask?" He handed her a box. Her father's personal effects. Watch, wedding ring, photo, and a letter. "My dearest Keisha, if you're reading this, I failed. I tried to protect you. I'm sorry. But know this, I loved you. Everything I did was to give you a better life. Be brave. Be strong. Be the chef you dreamed of being. Make food that brings joy. That's my legacy." "Love always, Dad," Keisha cried quietly. Seo-jun stood nearby, present but not touching. "Thank you," she said to Elder Song. "Your father was a good man. I'm sorry I believed lies about him." He bowed slightly. "Go in peace, Ms. Williams." Outside, after everyone left, Seo-jun said, "It's over. Yes, you can go home now, back to your life." Keisha looked at him. "What if I don't want to?" "Keisha, last night you said this world isn't safe for me. You're probably right. But I've spent weeks with you. I've seen the danger and the complications and the moral grey areas. And I'm still here. I'm still choosing this, choosing you." Seo-jun cupped her face. "I love you. I've been trying not to, trying to do the right thing, but I can't pretend anymore." "Then don't. Love me. Let me love you back. Let's figure out the rest together." He kissed her. And this time, there was no hesitation, no holding back, just 2 people who'd found each other in the darkness and decided to hold on. The bridge opened on a warm Seoul evening. Keisha stood in her restaurant, hers and Seo-jun's, watching customers fill the space. Korean-Nigerian fusion cuisine, food that told stories, that built connections. Seo-jun appeared beside her, took her hand. Ready. Ready. They'd built this together. A legitimate business. A new beginning. Seo-jun had stepped back from the family's illegal operations, focused on legal enterprises. It wasn't perfect. There were still complications, still danger, but they were building something worth fighting for. Mrs. Park managed the staff. Elder Song sat at a corner table with friends. Even Min-jun was there, uncomfortable in formal clothes but present. In the kitchen hung a photo of 2 men, David Williams and Seo-jun's father, friends, the foundation of everything. "Table for 2? Keisha asked. "Always," Seo-jun replied. They sat in their corner and watched their dream come to life. Some debts couldn't be measured in money. Some could only be paid with truth, courage, and love. And sometimes the worst moment of your life was the beginning of something extraordinary. Seo-jun raised his glass. "To bridges." "To new beginnings," Keisha replied. Outside, Seoul glowed. Inside, 2 people who'd found each other in darkness shared a future built on hope. And somewhere, both their fathers were smiling. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you for being here with Keisha and Seo-jun on this journey. What did you think? Did the story hit the way you hoped? Would you have made the same choices Keisha did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more slow burn romance stories like this one. Smash the like button if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you in the next story. Until then, remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose love, even when it's dangerous, even when it's complicated, even when everyone says you shouldn't. Because the best things in life, they're rarely safe.